Hello health champions! Are you taking apple cider vinegar to help you lose weight? Today I want to talk about how apple cider vinegar really works and why, depending on the pH of your body, taking vinegar could be a good thing or a bad thing. Once you understand how and why it really works, now you can reach your weight loss goals and get healthier all at the same time. Coming right up. Hey, I'm Dr. Ekberg. I'm a holistic doctor and a former Olympic decathlete. And if you want to truly master health by understanding how the body really works, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can keep learning how to get truly healthy. There is a good amount of research today on how apple cider vinegar can help with weight loss, it can help you lose belly fat, it can lower blood glucose, it can control type 2 diabetes, and it can lower triglycerides and even blood pressure. In other words, everything that is associated with insulin resistance. But does that mean that apple cider vinegar is the new cure-it-all? It's a miracle solution for weight loss? Does it mean that it's a fix-it-all? Does it help a little or a lot? And if so, what is the mechanism? Well, the exact mechanism of how apple cider vinegar helps with weight loss is not known. But according to the research and observations, they suggest it could have to do with improved satiety. It could be that the liver is producing less glucose. And also they noticed that apple cider vinegar can actually upregulate genes for fat burning. And of course, it improves insulin sensitivity. And any time that you become more insulin sensitive, then your body is more favorable toward fat burning than fat storing. But it still doesn't explain exactly what is it about vinegar that does this. What is it about vinegar that is able to create physiological change in the body? Well, the most characteristic thing is something you have already noticed. Vinegar is really sour. Apple cider vinegar contains something called acetic acid. And the way it's diluted in the apple cider vinegar, it comes at about 5% acidity, and that gives us a pH of 2.5. And that is right on par with stomach acid. So it's a very strong acid that can help us break down food. And even though most of the attention is on apple cider vinegar, it doesn't seem to really matter if you use white vinegar or apple cider vinegar, because the physiological benefit is in the acidity of the acetic acid. But now, in order to understand more about why this works and to feel confident about taking it, we need to dispel a myth, and that's the acid myth. For the last 20-30 years, we've all been told that we're all too acidic, that all our health problems is because the body is acidic. And therefore, you can solve all your health problems if you just become more alkaline. Eat those foods that make you alkaline. They've written books about it. But are we really too acidic? Well, a lot of natural healthcare practitioners like myself are finding that probably more people are actually too alkaline. And that's what I'm finding in my practice. And if you think about this for just a moment, if almost everyone was already too acidic, wouldn't we get worse if we added acid in the form of apple cider vinegar, right? We should get worse, and yet we have all these people taking apple cider vinegar and they get better. So real quick and simple now, what is acid and what is alkaline? Well, acid base is what they're talking about, and everyone knows that water is H2O. Well, H2O can split up in H plus and OH minus, where H is the acid and OH is the base. Now, in pure water, there are always going to be equal amounts of H and OH. So they balance each other out and we have neutral pH. But if we mix things into the water that shifts the balance one way or the other, we can change the pH. So if the H plus becomes dominant, now it's acidic and we have a pH below 7. And if the opposite, we mix something in that gives us more OH, now it's alkaline and we have a pH above 7. Now, we can't really make sense of pH in the body unless we understand that the pH is supposed to be different in different parts of the body. If we start with the digestive tract, then saliva is supposed to be neutral or slightly alkaline. If we eat a bunch of sugar and starch, then we feed bacteria that make acid and we get cavities. That's why sugar leads to cavities. It's about pH. But as soon as we leave the mouth and we move into the stomach, now it's supposed to get super acidic. And keep in mind that the pH scale is logarithmic. That means that for every step down the scale, for every whole number going down the scale, you get 10 times more acidic. So as you move from neutral down to 2, like in the stomach, you've just become 100,000 times more acidic. And that is necessary in the stomach. It's a good thing. We're supposed to have that. The body isn't randomly making mistakes. It needs that acid to break down the food. That's the first stage of digestion, and it sets the stage for what's about to come. The rest of the digestive tract can only work if we have the early parts work first. But as soon as we leave the stomach, now we're moving toward neutral again. We're still a little bit acidic in the proximal or the early portion of the small intestine, but as we move to the distal or late portion of the small intestine, now we become alkaline. As soon as we cross into the large intestine, the early portion of the large intestine, we are acid, and then as we move toward the later portion of the large intestine, it moves to almost neutral again. So the body has local regulation. It changes the pH along the way by adding acid or by adding bicarbonate. So the point of this is that we don't have an overall acidity or an overall alkalinity. We have changing values, and that's on purpose to support exactly what's supposed to happen at each stage of digestion. But when we move from local regulation to whole body pH regulation, what we're really talking about is the pH of the blood and the cerebrospinal fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid doesn't have red blood cells in it, but it's continuous with the blood, and it's what bathes your brain and your nervous system. And that's very, very sensitive. So the pH needs to stay right at 7.4. If it moves even 1/10 away from that exact number, you're going to get really, really sick. So the body again has ability to regulate. The kidneys does this. When the whole body starts becoming too acidic, now it can dump some acid. When it becomes too alkaline, it can hold on to the acid and dump some bicarbonate. A lot of people are testing the pH of saliva or they're testing the pH of urine, but the only thing that really matters is the pH of the blood. And if you think about it, whatever the kidneys get rid of, whether it's acid or base, is going to end up in the urine. So urine can have a very wide range of pH and still be normal. And it doesn't mean that much exactly where the pH is, because the urine only reflects what the kidneys got rid of. Now, pH is not the only aspect of homeostasis, but it is certainly one of the most important and one of the tightest regulated. So if you get even a couple of tenths away from 7.4 and you're too alkaline, now you're going to get things like confusion and coma. You could get nausea and vomiting, tremors, your muscles start twitching, you get spasms, you get numbness and tingling because your nervous system isn't signaling properly anymore. You could get lightheadedness because you're deprived of oxygen because your body can't regulate blood flow anymore. And if it goes a couple of tenths toward the acidic direction, well, you could have a lot of the same stuff. Confusion, coma, nausea, vomiting. And your body is going to try to compensate for that acidosis by rapid, shallow breathing. You're going to have fatigue, you're going to get headaches. So the point though is, if a couple of tenths of a point of pH can get you so sick you're on the verge of dying, then even a lot less, even a fraction of that, starts moving you away from homeostasis. So the ability for the body to maintain as close as possible to that 7.4 is absolutely critical. One thing that I've noticed in my office, and a lot of people doing the same kind of work, they find that people with just a little bit, nothing life-threatening or super dramatic, but much less than that in the alkaline direction, they start having multiple joint pain, or they can have that, and they can have something called frozen shoulder also. The most important way that apple cider vinegar can help with weight loss is that it improves your digestion. As we age, we tend to make less and less stomach acid, and then that production is further reduced by various conditions like hypothyroidism and especially by stress. So most people don't get enough stomach acid, and then your digestion suffers because we have to have that stomach acid to digest protein and absorb minerals. And like I said before, a large amount of stomach acid, a proper digestion in the stomach, sets the stage for how well the rest of the digestive tract is going to work. So your absorption is going to suffer if you don't have enough. So by adding apple cider vinegar, now you improve your absorption. And a lot of people think that it's just about eating the right food. They say that you are what you eat. Well, that's not true. You are what you digest and absorb. So if you can absorb better, if your overall digestion improves and you absorb more of the good stuff that's actually in the food, now your body's going to be more satisfied. So you're going to have better appetite control because your body actually got what it was supposed to. The other way that apple cider vinegar can help is that it can make it easier for your body to take the pH in the right direction toward homeostasis. But here we want to realize that not everyone is the same. So even if acid can help your digestion, if you're already too acidic overall in your body, if your body can't get rid of the acid fast enough, then what you want to do is you want to add some base. If your whole body can't get rid of acid fast enough, then you're making things worse by adding acid, even if it technically could help your digestion. So most people, however, are alkaline, and then it's very easy just to add some acid in the form of apple cider vinegar. And only when your whole body is in homeostasis is it able to regulate all aspects of health, like blood pressure and blood sugar and hormone balance and minerals, etc. Even though apple cider vinegar is a great thing and it can shift the odds in your favor, you get so much more benefit when you combine it with additional tools like low-carb diet and like intermittent fasting. Now you're going to get many, many times the effect. It's not ultimately about weight loss. It is about health and quality of life. If you take care of those, then the weight will take care of itself. So if you enjoyed this video, then make sure that you also check out that one so that you can keep learning about how to get truly healthy. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.